If you are not getting educated about market conditions, whether you're a mortgage broker, you're in title, an attorney, an accountant, or obviously a real estate agent, you're doing yourself and the consumers in your marketplace a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers podcast, and I'm here with the man himself, Byron Lazine. And Byron, I don't think there's any other topic to open with this week than inventory levels in the housing market. This has been a constant story and a pain point for consumers and professionals. I know you've got some data, so share with us what you're seeing, and then we can dig in.
Well, before I do that, Tom, you never mention who you are. You always say my name, but you don't say, and I'm Tom Toole.
It's not about me. It's
Just
about the people.
outside of well, there you go. You are a man of the people. Yeah, inventory is by far the biggest issue, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of reports this week, in the last couple weeks in particular, about inventory. And most of those reports are pointing towards inventory being up because they're referencing year over year numbers. And I really don't want people to look at year over year numbers because they're not a good indicator of where we're sitting for inventory in almost every single market in America. Sure, if you look at quarter one of 2022, which was the all-time low for inventory, it was extremely abnormal. Logan Motoshami from Housing Wire called that first quarter of 2022 a savagely unhealthy real estate market because of those inventory levels. And so if you point towards that as a year over year look, you're going to be misleading people. Okay. So we really want to look at pre-pandemic levels in almost every single market. All right. So Lance Lambert did a really good piece in Fortune just this past week. And it shows you the difference between how much of inventories, and we'll show these graphs. We'll put both graphs up because you got to see both. Okay, how much inventory levels have shifted over the last 12 months? That's that year over year look. And yes, in basically every single market, although there are a couple pockets in the Northeast, Tom, that are actually showing a decline in inventory. But almost every market in America in the last 12 months has seen a rise in inventory, but that's off of a bottom floor level. That's off of basically no inventory. If we look at the second graph of the United States, how much inventory levels have shifted over the past 4 years? Okay, change between January 2019 and January 2023. Every single market, 99% of these markets, there are like two pockets here where there's blue, which would be an increase in inventory since January 2019. Every other market has a significant decline in inventory. And this is an interactive chart. It won't be obviously interactive on the screen, Tom, so don't try to touch the screen if you're watching on YouTube with your finger. Hit the thumbs up if you think that's what Tom would do.
Man, I hope there's no thumbs up for that one.
hit the thumbs up anyways. It'll help us get to more people. But anyway, let's just pick some markets. If I go Hartford, Connecticut, negative 78%. If I go, and this is since 2019, if I go Miami, negative 50% inventory. So half the inventory we had in 2019. Tom, what do you want? You want Philadelphia? Sure. Negative 52.35%. The Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland area, because they're doing a bigger area on this particular chart. Do you want to go Atlanta?
Yeah, let's go Atlanta, and then let's check Florida and California after that.
Negative 40% in Atlanta. You want to go to Florida, we gave Miami was negative 50%. Let's go to the other coast. We'll go to Naples, negative 60% inventory. We'll do Palm Bay area is negative 35%. Port St. Lucie, negative 35%. Let's go over to California. California, there's an affordability research that just went out. California is in the top 5 of major metro areas across the country for unaffordable homes, for small markets unaffordable. So you would think that as we've seen the last, since 2019, this trend of migration moving out, would actually increase inventory, people wanting to get out of California. Nope. In the last 4 years, you've got negative 60% in San Luis. Let's go to LA area. I thought it was on LA. Santa Barbara, negative 70% inventory in the last 4 years. All of California is in the red. San Diego, negative 60%. The red would be a drop in inventory, negative 53% in the Thousand Oaks, Ventura area. Los Angeles, negative 37%.
Whew.
With all the issues going on in Los Angeles and unaffordability, there's still no inventory, Tom, in comparison to pre-pandemic levels. Okay. If we go to Northern California, the same story. You're in the negative 40, negative 30% in most of those markets. Let's go. Where do you want to go next? We can just keep doing this. Houston is negative 28%. We can go up to Minnesota. You're at negative 70%. All right. It's red across the country. You get the point here. And let's go to the top 400 metro areas. Only 15 of them, only 15 of the top 400 housing markets are actually above pre-pandemic levels in inventory. So 385 housing markets remain below pre-pandemic inventory levels. That paints a picture right there of why we're in such a, I got it, interest rates. We've talked a lot about that in the past shows, but that paints a really vivid picture on basic economics of why homes are unaffordable, of why buyers are so frustrated with the process of competing against multiple offers still today in 2023. And I don't see, Tom, any end to this anytime soon. Because when you dig into those 385 markets that still remain below pre-pandemic inventory levels, what's the actual inventory that's on the market? It's not all good.
Mhm.
It's not all ready to move in. It's not all affordable, that's for sure. This is just total inventory. When we go to the median price points, there's not a lot there. There's not a lot of pickings. And so is it, the end of this year that you see inventory coming up? Is it in 2 years? Is it in 5 years? We were having a conversation with Lisa
Yeah, this
Chinati
morning. Yep.
uh, this morning on a call, and we're like all in agreement where this is a 5-year at least problem.
I agree with that. I think there's an affordability issue here, and we'll get into that in a second. I wanted to highlight a couple stats that you had talked about. That when you look at inventory in late January, there were 465,000 single family homes on the market across the entire country. Less than 500,000 single family homes. That's overall 36% fewer than the pre-pandemic numbers. Still higher than early 2022, which give some relief, but not what folks are looking for here. And then when you look at what's going on with affordability right now, well, affordability was a record low the end of 2022 because of these inventory levels. If you look at the National Association of Home Builders and the Wells Fargo Housing Opportunity Index, this was a record low of 2022 affordability, and they attribute it to rising rates. Right, we know that rates have, and they've even gone up a little bit this week. Supply chain distributions, elevated construction costs, lack of skilled workers, and all of this. I mean, there's so many things going on, and just 38.1% of new and existing homes sold were affordable to families earning the median U.S. income of $90,000. So you've got barely a third, less than 40% are considered affordable, and it's the third consecutive quarterly decline. So we talk about supply and demand all the time. The supply's not there. The demand's still high with millennial home buyers, folks that didn't purchase. And what you had mentioned this morning is that what the government's done, they've made it really easy to build multifamily housing in a lot of markets. I've seen it happen here where you're seeing zoning variances passed, and it's almost promoting renting, which has caused one of these issues. And to me, the biggest driver is you have the boomers locked in with 3% and 4% handles on their mortgage rates, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And some of the research out there, if you just look at pre-pandemic housing inventory levels, there's a Zillow survey of industry experts. They're talking about the end of 2024 best case. So that's basically 24 months from now. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's, and this was
it,
back in May of last year. So I think they're even less bullish on it now than they were back in May of last year.
because regulations and the administration decisions over the last few years have made it easier for people to build apartments. Also, the market, dynamics obviously drove that as well, as opposed to, their ability to build single family homes. And there's a lot that goes into that conversation. But because of that, multifamily construction has boomed recently, and boomed last year, was up an estimated 15%, according to economists speaking at NAHB, which was just
Hmm.
last week in Las Vegas. So 2022, Tom, multifamily construction exceeded a 500,000 annual pace for the first time since the Great Recession. However, NAHB is projecting that multifamily starts will fall 28% this year, to about 391,000 total. They expect this will stabilize in 2024 to about 374,000. There are currently 943,000 apartments under construction right now, which is up 25% to a year ago. This is the highest count of apartments under construction since 1974.
Bananas.
So, and if you talk to any commercial broker, let us know if you're on YouTube and you're in the comments. If you're a commercial broker, maybe you're CBRE, or somebody else, if you're seeing just price reductions on, because they know that this inventory is about to hit the market,
Hmm.
right? That's what you would see in residential if we had this type of, built up affordable housing starts for single families. You would see price reductions happening now. Investors are like, hey, I'm getting deal after deal after deal because multifamily got a little bubblicious
Hmm.
the last couple years. And what this is doing, Tom, because what you'll see is rental prices come down this year for the first time in a long time because of all this inventory. It's going to continue to make renting a better option for people who should be thinking about buying their first home, who should be thinking about starting to build that generational wealth through home ownership. So, this administration, the next administration, local state administrations, they really need to figure out a way to help builders build affordable housing, whether it's condos, or single family starts, so that people can become home owners, as opposed to this renter nation theme that has been building up over time in the last couple of years, has certainly exploded.
I had a little freeze there. I don't know what happened. So I couldn't agree with you
Okay.
more. I mean, I see families renting properties. I see where I live, right outside Philadelphia. They're taking, I mean, they're, and it's, you see people moving from the city. They want to get into the suburban school districts, and they're knocking down buildings and building these luxury apartments. They're at $2,000, $2,500, $3,000 a month. That's a housing payment. And because there's no inventory, I mean, Byron, you've got kids. Your kids don't stop getting older because there's no housing inventory. When kids turn 5, school becomes a real issue, and it's life moves on. And when you look at everything that's going on, but these inventory numbers are just so alarming because people aren't liquidating their homes. I mean, we were talking with Lisa this morning that there's towns where we live, right? So, for example, there's a town right next to where I live called Havertown, right? It's quite a large area. It's got a substantial population. I mean, there's I'm looking
What's
it
the
up right
population
now.
approximately?
Um, so it's 35,000 people live in this town, right? It's a
It's a suburb of
suburb of
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, right outside the city. There are 9 single family homes available in Havertown right now.
For 35,000
35,000
people.
people, 9 single family homes. And I mean, and it's a very medium price point. You see a lot of people move there. They maybe move in, move out. People live there their whole lives. It's not this high end sort of premium market. It's the median price point where a lot of folks go. They got 3-bedroom single family homes, about 1,500 square feet. They're selling in the $300,000-$400,000 range. And that's exactly what you're talking about with the most affordable stuff. School system's very solid. And I mean, and the number of housing units in the zip code, there's 13,558 according to the U.S. Census, and there's 9 single family homes available. Challenge. I
And
mean,
that
and this
that's
this
what
is a case study that you could do over and over again anywhere. That place just really speaks to us.
What's the city like, Philadelphia? Is it similar, or do you have more
So
inventory
there's
in the
more
city?
inventory in the city for sure. Now, obviously, the neighborhoods are pretty diverse there. If you look at the end of December numbers, we saw a 4.77 month supply of homes available. which is much higher. Let me give you what that translates to in terms of housing units. But the suburban counties that we work in, Chester, Montgomery, Delaware, they're at a 1.5 to 1.77 month supply. So we're seeing that folks are flooding, leaving cities, which was a trend that happened during the pandemic and has continued. Let me give you the exact number here, Byron, because I want to.
And Tom, and like I said, there's only 15 housing markets that are back to pre-pandemic inventory levels. So today from 2019. So I would say, you know, because Philadelphia's not on this list, it's probably likely still
It
below
is.
2019. Here are the 15 while you look
It's
that up.
3,192 homes are active in Philadelphia right now, but that's a lot of condos.
Sure.
It's attached
Yeah,
housing.
but based off of what
The
population?
population of the city of Philadelphia,
So we're at 3,000 units available.
1.576 million.
Yeah. So there you
Same
go.
issue.
I mean that's I don't know what the percentage is on that, but it's not a big
I'll
percentage.
break out my calculator here. Hang on.
Bring out the calculator. I'll give you the 15 housing markets that are back to pre-pandemic inventory levels across the country. There's only 15 of 400. Yeah, it's. I knew it was less than a percent. That's why I said I don't know. It's a I don't know
How long is it going to take
point
us to
zero
do the
zero
math here?
seventeen. Bobby did it on his calculator. He's
Two
showing it to me
tenths
right
of a
now. It's
percent. Two tenths.
yeah, two
0.2%.
tenths. There you go. Okay, so there's 15 housing markets that are back to pre-pandemic levels, inventory levels. It's out of 400 major metros in the country. They are Port Arthur, Texas, Boise City, Idaho. Boise, Greg Schwartz, the CEO of Tomo. I'm sitting in Tomo's headquarters today. He's nice enough to let me use this as I'm bouncing around Connecticut a little bit this week. He said that Boise, Idaho, is the market that is falling in housing prices the most. Okay, so it makes sense that their inventory is
Mm-hmm.
back. And everybody's talking about Austin and some of these other cities that Boise. He's like, there was just no reason for people really to move to Boise. They didn't get more jobs or anything like that. People are just escaping cities, and so now Boise's experiencing one of the largest drops or the largest drop in the country. Cheyenne, Wyoming. Cheyenne?
Cheyenne.
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 Never heard of Cheyenne. Sorry, Cheyenne,
That's the
that
least
I
populous state in
mispronounced
the
that.
country. Wyoming, by the way.
Idaho Falls, Idaho. Temple, Texas. Logan, Utah. Midland, Texas. Odessa,
There's a theme
Texas. So a
here.
lot of Texas on this list. Texas obviously was one of the states that had land to build on and made it easier on builders to build in abundance. So you're seeing that as an obvious theme. Ogden, Utah, Panama City, Florida, Pueblo, Colorado, Sherman, Texas, St. George, Utah, Manchester, Tennessee, and Twin Falls, Idaho. Those are the 15 housing markets that are back to pre-pandemic
These are
inventory
all
levels.
rural, big
There's
sky markets. I mean, Texas. I mean, while it has some large cities, there's some parts of Texas that are pretty rural. So that's what we're seeing, and it's. I mean, you look at 0.2% in
and
Philadelphia. It's bananas.
And there's still plenty out of these 385 housing markets that are
Hmm.
below pre-pandemic inventory levels. There's still plenty of Texas on the list. I mean, it's everybody basically. It's everybody else in the country is below pre-pandemic levels. And we showed the graph there. You can't really find anywhere in America that isn't below pre-pandemic levels. And there's not an indication this year, we saw it this week. The 30-year we were doing, we were happy last week as we got into a 5 handle, and then all this week we're at 6.5,
Yep.
basically pretty close to 6.5% on the 30-year fixed. This is going to create more of a pause for homeowners. With the conversation we were having this morning was, okay, how many people are now considering staying in their home and building a second
Happens all the
floor?
time.
Absolutely, it's going to
Well,
continue
and,
to
and think
happen.
about this: at 6%, right? You don't have a place to move to because, in theory, there is, and I agree with this. Your time is valuable. A lot of homeowners don't always look at that. Like going through a construction project, financing it, getting a personal loan or a construction loan is a way more affordable given the current mortgage rates. Number one, and secondly, even if you did want to move, there's not a lot of places to go. And the folks that we see moving right now, it's those super high motivators, and that's going to continue to happen. So my question I want to kind of dig into a little bit here is for all the real estate agents listening. I mean, you've got to you really got to put some sweat equity into your business right now to find those people. And I would be almost solely looking for listings if I was a real estate agent right now. I mean, well, I am, but I mean that's what we're talking at our team here, and it's a challenge for consumers. People are getting frustrated, and I can really empathize with them. I mean, luckily we're not in this, but I mean, imagine going through that where you want to move and you just can't find the house, and there's 9 homes available in your town.
If you want to free up your time so you can use your knowledge on higher use activities to grow your business, then you need the support in your staff. The best way in 2023 to do that is to hire a virtual assistant. Tom and I use Virtue Desk to continue to scale up our staff so we can do higher level activities like big relationships, like big sales, or growing our teams. Use the link below for Virtue Desk with the discount code BAM 23. Use the discount code below BAM23 for Virtue Desk to hire your virtual assistant today. You'll get $250 off the startup fee. Use the discount code below. What's your thoughts on all of the investors that have bought in homes, in the last 3, 4 years? Should there be any regulation on the ability for some of these funds to go up and buy, swaths of single family homes?
So they did it with a lot of condo buildings back before the last crash, right? Like and finance, like if you want to get FHA or conventional financing on some of these condos, they have a 50% investor cap in these buildings because people were buying them before they were built. Um, that's a good question because
It's common, yeah, it's common in HOA because they restrict the
yeah.
way you can, rent the property but, just going and buying in rural markets, these single family homes where to your point, that market 35,000 residents and there's nothing on the market, but there's investors that own single family homes in that market for sure.
So it'd be pretty hypocritical of me to say you should cap this stuff, knowing I own single family home investments. So I mean, that's
Listen, I'm there with you. I'm a believer in an open market, but on the flip side, there's not enough being done to help,
I agree.
help builders, help developers put this product onto the market.
Yeah, and I think that the challenge here that we see is that what the government's done, they've gone so far the other way, and I'm a big believer that the American dream has a lot to do with home ownership. I don't know that we're really getting that now. We were talking about a nation of renters on our call this morning because it's such a big issue and it's affecting obviously businesses, but also people's lives. So I mean, it's a tough call, and if someone came out and said, "Hey, I'm going to put a," I mean, you're going to have to do this at the local level. I don't think you can do it at a national level. It's going to have to be locally for sure. And some of these townships that you deal with, or local governments, we have townships here. We don't have cities. They have pretty strict development
Let's
regulations
just
as it is. Like you can only build on 2 acre lots or things like that. So it's going to happen at the local level.
You guys have townships because Pennsylvania, is still thinking we're in the Pilgrim
We're
days.
we're a Quaker state, my friend. So
Yeah.
I'm eating
Like,
my Quaker oatmeal every day here.
did you watch our president's State of the Union address this week? Did you watch
No,
President Biden's
I don't
address?
watch any President's State of the Union. I can watch the highlights and hear what happened afterwards.
I watched them all, so I'll break it down for you. He went on for over an hour, and he never mentioned housing once, which makes up 17% of the GDP. He talked job market extensively, and he was really proud about the job market, but never talked about housing. Well, he mentioned at one point affordable housing, but it was like tied to the homelessness issue. It wasn't tied to like the everyday median earner in America being able to actually find a home. That affordability study that just came out this week shows you that only 38% of the homes sold in quarter four were affordable, basically, for people with the median income in this country. And we can pull up the exact stat. I had it here in front of me earlier. Um, Here it is. So this is according to NAHB as well. 38.1% of new and existing homes sold between the beginning of October and end of December were affordable to families earning the U.S. median income of $90,000. This marks the third straight quarterly record for low housing affordability since the Great Recession, trailing the previous marks of 42 8% in both the second and the third quarter. And that wasn't addressed. It was like, hey, we need affordable home for homeless people. Well, homeless people can't afford anything. That's a whole different, that's a mental health issue. That's a
Well, those
whole
those are
another
facilities and, like, you
category
got
of housing
medical
issue.
coverage there. I mean, I could not agree with you more on that. It's totally different.
I'm looking at this family here, the US median income for families making $90,000. That's
Good money.
like, hey, we're out there, we're working, probably 80 plus hours a week to make this $90,000. We're, probably out of the home, in the home, working our butts off. And only 38% of new and existing homes in quarter four were affordable for those families. That's the lowest mark since in years. There's actually a chart we can show where if you go all the way back to quarter one of 2016, this is by far the lowest mark according to this NAHB Wells Fargo Opportunity
Well,
Index.
I do like the idea of some sort of regulation. I mean, they had NAR had a meeting, and I mean, NAR has not been great to say the least. But they had a meeting where back in November where they talked about a range of potential inventory solutions, such as broader down payment assistance on the local, state, and federal levels. If they're going to assist homeless people, I mean, I think you should probably assist the people that are actually contributing to the economy and are taxpayers. Um, and special purpose credit programs to better meet the credit standards. But the problem is, this is all about buyers, right? We need seller incentives. That is the biggest. I mean, what about a tax break if you sell your home, right? I mean, there's some folks. You look at the capital gains tax. Well, if your gains higher than 500,000, and think about where a lot of people, it's all these move up buyers, right? The move up buyers want to move, and there's no inventory there because those people have a 3 or a 4 handle. What if there's like a tax savings or an elimination of capital gains tax? I mean, that number of $500,000 that was set in 1997. Okay, has there been inflation since 1997, Byron? Absolutely. That's all they talk about. So what about changing those limits? I see that as a much more viable option to incentivize sellers because it's all they're talking about is buyers here, and NAR again is missing the mark. I like a tax incentive for home sellers to sell and downsize. I think that would be a great way to unloosen this up a little bit because someone's in an $800,000 home. Let's say they've been there 30 years. They probably bought it for what? Maybe 250. So their gains already eliminated. They get whacked with the capital gains on whatever's left. That would be a program that would actually do something here that might loosen up inventory.
Yeah. But the $800,000 home, Tom, isn't going to help a lot of people that are looking at that median price point.
Well, but
I
it would
absolutely
take
agree
those
with
people
where
in
you're
the
going.
medium houses and move up because they can't move up either,
Move up
and then open that up.
and then
Yes,
free up.
agreed.
Yeah, I got you there. The share of young adults between 25 and 34, and this is on BAM. Right now, share of young adults between 25 and 34 living at home is 15.6%. It's down from 17.8% actually, at the start of the pandemic. But that shows you how much pent-up demand for those starter homes that there is, because there is a large percent. I would say, just based off of history, there's probably a third of that 15% that want to go out and buy a home, because historically from 1960 to 1980, we were below 10% on that number. 1980 to about 2006, when the market crashed, 2006, 2007, when the market crashed, we were just about 10%, a little bit over 10% in the 90s, closer to maybe 12, 13%. But between 10 and 12% that entire time period. And then obviously from 08 until the pandemic, we just on a straight line up to almost 18% of young adults living at home, now almost 16%. So we've come down recently, the last couple of years. But there's a third of them, just based off of history, that want to go buy a starter home, but there's nothing available for them to do it. So they're more incentivized to stay in the basement.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's well, and because they form households so much later, right? Like, I mean, most people aren't going to move in to the basement with their husband or wife if they get, but people are getting married later. I look back at remember in 2008 when Obama came out with that buyer incentive, right? And it was like the $8,000 of like tax credit to buy a home if you were a first time buyer.
Yep.
Something like that. I mean, even if they just gave an incentive for people, and it's got to be more than $8,000, obviously.
But to your point, they always put the incentive on the buyer.
Yeah, it's got to be something else. I'm talking about the seller side.
It's got to be something on the seller side to free up the inventory now. Then they can't. There's Greg was talking about the incentive of like getting down payments down to zero. Great, but you're just creating more bidding wars, and they're getting beat out by cash.
Hmm.
So the administration put out, making it easier for people to really reduce their down payment, which is theoretically helping affordability. But they just lose those offers, and they end up losing the savings by going over ask because they're competing against cash and somebody dropping
Hmm.
inspections.
Yeah, I mean, it's a and a lot of what's happening is a lot of these folks are tapping into their parents' wealth or something else, or they're tapping into the equity line on their current home just to come across as a cash offer, and you don't have to deal with it. And I mean, it's going to be a tough couple of years here. I mean, if you don't know how to attract listings or find these listings or go out and list properties, I mean, and just for the consumer especially. I mean, I hope you like where you live right now because I don't see this changing anytime soon, and this is a major issue.
I hope where you like living right now. Wow, that is a shot of confidence there from Tom Toole for all of these young Americans in the basement right now. These 15.6%. I hope you like the basement.
But I mean, I'm saying it because I think it's I mean, what other option is there? I mean, construction. Do you have a lot of new construction in Connecticut? Because we certainly don't have a lot here. We see
Now,
some areas in the city getting developed. I mean, we can't produce this, and that's why you look at the rural housing markets and they're dropping. We've always seen when you go west, there's more inventory. That's always been the case here because we're right outside the city. So I don't know what the solution is here. I mean, that they put so much
I
cash in the system in 2020 that we're paying for it right now in the housing market.
I think it's important to point out too, because we've been talking about this year over year inventory number. That's not what you want to look at, and we're looking at this pre-pandemic and 2019 and now. But it's also important for us to point out, and this was in Housing Wire's market tracker this week that Logan Mohtashami writes every single week. Housing inventory decreased 8,664
Yep.
units just in the prior week, which is a more extensive inventory decline than we saw the prior week at a time of year when we would expect inventory to start going up, those spring sellers coming onto the market. We've had, in the Northeast, it's been historically warm. There hasn't been, a lot of weather issues in most markets holding people back. I know Texas, it's been very cold lately, but that cold weather it wouldn't stop people from listing their homes. So we're seeing just in the last 7 days inventory decline as well. So there's not any indication that this spring market is going to be, more advantageous for the home buyer in the median price point than 2022 was. And when my fear is that when the Fed sees that and sees that, a consistency in, you know, over ask or bidding wars that could take place over the next 60 days, that they get even more aggressive and we see an interest rate that goes back up over 7. We're not that far off from 7%. We're a lot closer to 7% 30-year fixed than we are 5.5%, which is where some of the
Yep.
projections are saying we're going to end up this
I
year.
mean, I am worried about the Fed for that very reason. Now, Logan Mohtashami in his housing tracking market or his housing tracker he puts out every Monday, he's expecting inventory to start climbing in earnest this month, peaking in late summer and ending with just under 700,000 homes on the market. So right now we're at 465. So that's a step in the right direction. But these people that are expecting inventory to double and triple, it's just not going to happen. And I mean, it's still going to be tight. And for the consumers that are out there wanting to move, this waiting for the spring, you got to be scouring the market. You've got to be looking constantly. And I've seen more and more off market deals than I've ever seen before the past 3 years where these buyers are just coming in. And if you look at the Bright housing data that comes out, they have an off MLS report each year. So in 2021, the average was a little over 17% less than what you'd get if you listed your home on the MLS, is what the off MLS study showed. This year in 2022, it was down to 13%. So I mean, that's that shows you buyers
Wow.
are coming in and saying, "Well, this is an opportunity. I'm not going to mess around with this because I want a house, and I'm going to be a little more aggressive in my offer." And there's still obviously money to be made for sellers going to the open market. Some sellers just don't want to deal with it. They're worried about timing. They're worried about process. They're worried about getting their home ready for the market and having people come through and tour it. and we had 70 plus tours over the weekend at a $500,000 single family home in 3 days. I mean, 70. Can you imagine 70 people coming through your place in Naples right now, Byron?
No, no, I couldn't imagine that. I can barely imagine my parents stopping by or the mother-in-law, and that happens all the time. That's more than enough for me. That it's interesting. We did a little mastermind yesterday, and that's the number one reason people don't want to list is just I don't want people coming through my home. I'd rather just stay put than dealing with that process. And how would an agent right now or a broker or a team make that an easier process for a seller to wrap their mind around with, 70 people coming through my home? You know, is there a solution for home sellers that don't want that much foot traffic?
So I mean, I've sold homes virtually after the pandemic. I mean, there was, and I think it depends on the type of house, right? Like a townhome that's a newer build, you kind of know what you're getting in some of these neighborhoods. There are people that buy homes sight unseen. We just had a listing sell this morning, and I have realtors blowing up our phone right now because someone had seen it the last time it came for sale 7 years ago, and they didn't want to miss out again. They literally made a sight unseen offer, which is something you can
Wow.
do. I mean, that's totally legal. It follows all the clear cooperation rules that NAR made up, and I do see something where, I mean, the way videos expanded. I mean, so you guys recently relocated to Naples, right? That's a market where a lot of people buy sight unseen. Uh,
It is. You're right.
so, and vacation markets, that happens a lot. So,
Well,
depending on the property, I mean, you get a really nice floor
I
plan done. I think the floor plan's a key component here because you can never really like see with the video and the photos, like Matterport, that sort of stuff. But it does happen more than you think.
the place we have now that we bought in 2020, I didn't buy it sight unseen, but I had never been in that particular community. And the first time I went into that community, I was willing, if I didn't get the deal that I got, I was willing to down the road buy sight unseen because I had gotten into basically all of the floor plans. There's just a number of particular floor plans in this community of, call it 400 plus homes. And had I not gotten the negotiation to go the direction that I wanted it to go to and ultimately get the deal, I was willing to put offers in sight unseen because even if it's a little bit more grimier than the next unit, then I'll just come in there and blow it out or clean it or repaint whatever I've got to do. Right? It was about the location for me. I'm
Mhm.
always a location buyer now, and certainly the floor plan did it match our
So,
needs.
so you were recently at our home. We have a single family home. I would have, I would,
See
I would have
that
bought that sight
your
unseen.
house.
We were going to do
Well,
that. We drove by it.
you have such a big house because you're fancy that that could be a little bit more of a
Well,
difficult sight
I
unseen
agree.
purchase.
We were going to do it though, because we knew the neighborhood, right? And I think,
Yeah,
and the location is, it kept our kids in the same school, super valuable. They did a floor plan for the home. The realtor who had it listed did a horrible job with photos. I was able to see past a lot of that stuff, and I think that's obviously that helps with the experience. I don't want to say that everyone can do that. The floor plan made a big difference, and the driving by the home and checking out the location. To your point, once you got inside, if you look at the aerial photos, it looked like it was on a really funky lot. And in fact, it's a rather large lot. It was just bad photography. But we were ready to do that because we knew what was out there and knew the market. So, driving by a home, I mean, would end a lot of these issues for people. But I mean, some people just aren't going to do it. I mean, it's a big investment. The home was built in the 1940s, so there's obviously some construction issues that can come up. I think my experience helped with that. I mean, but if you really want the house, sometimes that's what you got to do. And I mean, that's always been my view of it.
there was this belief in prop tech the last number of years where it's like, hey, people are gonna use some type of creative financing to go buy their house, then we'll get them moved out, we'll list their current home, and they won't have to worry about all of the showings, which makes sense in theory. The problem is, what we've spent this entire pod talking about is that there's no inventory for them to go buy and get out of their house. So that really didn't work. Listen, if I'm an agent or a consultant or a broker in any particular community, it's going to be a really smart idea to start to get connected with the local decision makers, the politicians, If you're in a township like the Pilgrims in Pennsylvania, or if you're in, any particular county or city in America. Tom didn't
I
hear
did
that
hear it.
shot. I guess that he did hear the shot. If wherever you're located across the country, I'd start to create relationships. You're not going to solve the problem in 2023, but if you could make an impact on some policy decisions in your local community to help the builder community, would you not maybe get an abundance of listing opportunities in 3 years when the builders are now able to build affordable housing because you pushed so hard, because you overeducated? Would you not, by putting that content out into the market, at least start conversations on, well, hey, I see that you're identifying this as a major problem in our town. I appreciate that. I'm moving this year, not going to be able to do anything. This isn't going to help me in 3 years, but, what advice could you give me about this year? So you'd open dialogue there. I think that in the environment that we're in right now of 2023, where everybody's super divided, people have stopped talking to their local leaders, to their local politicians. And smart business people should be creating those relationships, digging in deep with the policy makers and the politicians in their area to actually create those relationships and make change. Not taking, stay purple with it, but go and help make the change. Be the relationship that helps bring the data to your local town.
That's why I'm wearing my purple shirt today, Byron, for that exact reason.
Yeah, I thought. Well, you texted me earlier, and
It's
what
very
did
it's
you
very
say?
off brand for me to wear a t-shirt, so I was not going to wear the Eagle
No,
shirt. I was thinking about it, but it
you didn't.
wasn't. I don't know. It didn't feel right. I got my
You
uniform.
said you said you care for. Oh, I thought you said shirt. I thought you said jersey. I read it as
No, I don't
jersey.
even. I don't have a jersey, so that's
I was gonna, and that's why I said yes in the text. Yeah, wear your Eagles jersey, so I could say, "What are you, a
no.
12-year-old
I don't
Tom
have one.
Toole wearing an NFL
No,
jersey?"
I'm clearly not built for the NFL. I'd probably have to get the 12-year-old size jersey to fit into it. You mentioned this. There's something interesting going on here in Philadelphia. So, are you familiar with the condo king, Alan Dom? He's a real
No,
estate. He owns a
kind of Alan
Alan
Dom, the
Dom. Yeah,
Dominator.
Domb. Okay, you can make fun of this guy all you want.
No, no,
He
no.
is
I'm
running.
just that's an entourage
Oh,
reference. The
I would guess.
Dominator.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so Alan Dom is running for mayor of Philadelphia. He
Okay.
was he changed the real estate landscape in the city, and that's the kind of local leader you want. And I find it very fascinating. I see what he's doing, and someone like that gets housing affordability. He sold all the condos in Rittenhouse Square. They called him the Condo King back in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, and when business leaders get involved in politics, I find that to be a great thing for any community. So I do agree. I mean, Alan probably doesn't even know who I am. I reached out to him, tried to get him on the radio show. No, radio silence. But he like someone like that is going to understand this issue better than anybody else. And if you can start to see housing come up and fill it, I think that could have a real great effect on the local community here because he gets the real estate side. He gets the business side. And when you mention like prop tech, like these people that come from outside the industries, they come in with these ideas and they don't really get the ins and outs of any industry. And I'm clear that this could be a big win for our local market from a housing affordability standpoint, just understanding housing in general. If he's able to win election.
Yeah, he says on his website he's a proven problem solver. Allen is running for mayor because he understands that Philadelphia is in
Well,
crisis.
look up
Blah blah
Dom
blah blah
Real
blah.
Estate. That's what you really want to
But,
check out. I mean, then you get his company's
but
still functioning. He stepped out.
he puts in here an affordable housing crisis right at the top.
Yep.
His first sentence in. So, I can't believe he blew you off and when coming on your local
Probably
radio show.
saw me hanging out with you, and that was the end of it.
Hey, Dominator, take Tom Toole's call if you want any chance of winning for mayor. What's his chances of winning
It's
in blue
well,
Philadelphia?
he's running under the right party because they never elect anybody else. So,
He's running
so
as
he
a
was on
Democrat.
city council, and I believe he was non-declared for city council when he was on there. And I mean, look, unfortunately, you got to play the game in some of these places. I'm less concerned about that. I like that he's talking about affordable housing, and that's what we're talking about here. So,
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because I was going to say if he was, if you were trying to red pill everybody here, Tom,
no, I'm
then
not.
obviously I was going to say he's got no
Yeah, he's
shot.
not. I mean, he's not. So, Let's see if he was. I believe he was neutral when he was on city council.
Purple pill Tom Toole.
I like purple, right? Everyone wants to meet in the middle. What's that song? Meet me in the middle. Can we play
Absolutely.
that out here? Do we have the rights for that? So
I don't think we do. No, we don't have the rights for anything on Knowledge Brokers
not yet.
but we.
Oh, so he's a registered independent. When he won, when he came on to city council, and now he's running as a Democrat. So they have large seats in Philadelphia, so you don't have to be. You can it's not party based.
All right, let's wrap this thing up, Tom. I gotta go. I know you gotta go. This is a good pod. I think this is a discussion that
we're going to keep.
I'd love
this.
to have.
Yeah, this is going on. This is not a one.
I don't know if it's the Dominator or somebody else, but I'd love to have some politician join us and talk about, loosening up the regulations on builders to build single family or affordable condo projects. The best way for them to get, affordable housing into an area is to go, multi-level up condos. To me, I'd love to see somebody make some decisions that make sense in some communities that others can model after, and maybe we can get some of those to come join us on Knowledge Brokers Pod. Tom, before we go, what's your prediction for the Super Bowl this weekend?
Take the Eagles. That's my prediction.
What's the
so it's
line?
1.5 points. Here's my observation of this.
Tom's a big Philadelphia fan. If you haven't figured that
out.
I
live here. That's how it goes. Here's my prediction. The Chiefs will be tough. This is the hardest game both teams have played all year. The Chiefs have an excellent offense. So do the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles defense far superior. So if they can get to Patrick Mahomes, I'm giving all the bettors out there, Hassan Reddick, defensive end. You want the Temple University. He's your Super Bowl MVP. All the 49ers fans that were complaining, oh, we didn't have a quarterback. Hassan Reddick knocked both of them out of the game, if you recall. When we were at he literally just ended them.
Take the points. Take Kansas City. Kansas City's got the Super Bowl. Rihanna's got the.
If you're trusting Andy Reid to win in a big game, I've seen this myself many times. I mean, it's not he's 1-2 in the Super Bowls. I think he's what, like 2-7 in championship games. So I don't know. I like Meek Mill and Dreams and Nightmares chain around Nick Sirianni, and we're gonna win it.
Andy Reid's your guy. Take the Chiefs. And if you want to take your business up to the next level, there's a link below with a discount code BAM23 where you actually get your initiation fee on Virtue Desk VAs cut in over half. So VA Virtue Desk virtual assistants, if you want to up your business like Tom and I have, go check out that discount code below. Virtue Desk now supporting the Knowledge Brokers Pod, dropping some knowledge here for all you guys. You can go get a big discount on the Virtue Desk link below. Tom, I'll see you here next week.
I'm back.
Good luck this weekend.
I'm not playing. I don't need luck. I need luck in my business right now and navigating this inventory crisis. And that's what you should be focusing on if you're a real estate agent. Get the knowledge.